If you want to see how we survive in a busy city, you might want to watch this. Well, thanks for getting beyond the intro. In my attempt to try and grab your attention a little longer, I will promise you some spills and near misses, and we will try and explain how we managed to get around the UK's capital. Yes, London, the actual birthplace of the Brompton bicycle. We've been travelling to London for years with these bikes in our luggage. In fact, even before I understood the importance of landscape footage. Brompton's packed. Our journey starts at our local railway station, and we can expect to be on the train for around 3 hours. When we travel, we generally use the IKEA Dimpler bag to carry our bikes. I've got to say, they're robust, there's plenty of room, simple to get your bike into, easy to carry, and they cost about £7. What more can you ask for? The bikes will fit easily onto the luggage racks in these Dimpler bags, and if I have to sit any distance away from them, I tend to lock 2 bikes together. I figure even I would be able to catch somebody struggling with 2 bikes off the train. Meanwhile, back in London, we travel to Euston Station and then catch the Underground to Green Park. The Underground here is the same as anywhere else. You may get a seat.
Going nowhere fast.
It could be complete chaos.
The next station is Monument. Change for the Central.
Or you may have the tube to yourself. It depends where you're going and of course when.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform.
It's about a 10 to 15 minute walk to Westminster from Green Park. You're going to pass Buckingham Palace and you'll possibly walk through St James's Park. But whichever route you take, it's worth pushing the Brompton because there's plenty to see. If you're thinking, why don't you cycle to the hotel from Euston? Well, sometimes we do. But we also love the walk from Green Park too. We may visit 2 or 3 times a year, but we're still tourists. I must point out though, Westminster is not the only place we stay in the capital, but if we have our bikes, this area is our preferred option. Now if you don't own a Brompton, let me tell you, it will fit in any lobby, any lift, any hotel restaurant, and any hotel room. A full-size bike though? I doubt you could do the same. Be warned, it's going to take more than a couple of days to get around this city. It covers approximately 600 square miles. It's populated by around 9 million people, and you will be swamped in history and incredible buildings. This place has been around for almost 2,000 years. It was all down to the Romans. They turned up and called it Londinium. But they did have a minor setback when they upset a young Celt by the name of Boudica. After they interfered with her children, she burnt the place to the ground. She also slaughtered tens of thousands of them. And, in recognition of her achievements, they have placed a pretty special sculpture of Boudica and her daughters on Westminster Bridge. I would recommend a visit. Right, what does a Brompton do which many bikes don't? Correct, it folds. Which means we can navigate this city via tube.
Time to fold the bikes for the new Elizabeth line.
Via black cab, via bus, via Uber boat, or we could even pedal. Of course, if you pedal, you can get around the popular sites with ease.
That is the Tower of London.
Yes, indeed, it is the Tower of London, which is great by day, but even better by night. The London Eye gets busy, so be prepared to push your Brompton. get in and around St Paul's Cathedral. Big Ben is an absolute must. Time it well to hear the chimes. Pop in and see the Golden Hind. Or at least a rather good replica of it. Just around the corner is a place I love to visit, Borough Market. If you love cheese, freshly baked bread, strawberries and chocolate sauce, incredible sausage rolls, and fantastic street food in general, it is another must visit. You'll pass the Shard if you pedal a bit further. If you venture in, the views are incredible. And continue a bit further to get some pics of Tower Bridge. The Americans thought they'd bought this bridge off us in the 60s. Fortunate for us, they confused London Bridge with Tower Bridge, and they ended up with the fork. There are so many tourist attractions within this city. The Brompton allows you to get around so many of them in one day. Head west and check out Battersea Power Station. Take your bike with you when you stop for a coffee. In fact, get yourself to Covent Garden and have a pint in the Punch and Judy. But remember, it's also great to get off the tourist trail and explore some of the other boroughs. Such as Shad Thames in Bermondsey. You don't have to travel far to find boutique shops and bars where once there were warehouses that stored tea, coffee and spices that had travelled there by ship.
I don't think she's here. She's further on down.
Get over to Lambeth and see the Nine Elms Pavilion and the Thames Walk. If you're feeling brave and youthful, hit some ramps in the South Bank skate space. Or maybe just take some photos. Visit Canary Wharf in the financial district. This is the City of London. The City of London covers less than 1.5 square miles and is populated by less than 10,000 people, although close to 1 million work here. They even have their own police force, the City of London Police. In fact, you'll see so much more than you expected if you travel a little further. you want to cross the Thames, well, in addition to buses, cabs and tubes, there is no shortage of bridges to cycle. In fact, you could even cycle to Greenwich and use the Victorian foot tunnel to the Isle of Dogs. Isle of Dogs. Well, so far it all seems pretty positive, but with over 1.3 million cyclists using the city streets each day, you can expect a fair amount of road rage, collisions and even fatalities. Thankfully, the fatalities were still recorded in single figures in 2024, but one single fatality is one too many. Now, I'm not here to tell you how to ride your bike, but I can tell you what's available to cyclists in London and how we've survived so far. First of all, if there is a cycle lane available to us, we use it. Transport for London have introduced cycle lanes, cycle traffic light systems and the occasional superhighway. The superhighways are often identified by blue markings on the road and can be a safe environment to cycle. That said, you might want to keep your eye out for people riding motorbikes in balaclavas. I'm not even going to guess at what that bunch have been up to. I think it's fair to say some drivers of cars, vans, buses and lorries aren't that keen on cyclists, particularly when they feel the cyclist isn't using the road correctly. Now, I'm not going to get into that debate in this forum, but I have to say, as a motorist myself, I see drivers acting equally as bad and often worse, and I know which mode of transport I'd rather be hit by, particularly if I'm inside a vehicle. But I've also seen people on push bikes acting like idiots, so it doesn't preclude us from being a knob. As such, I encourage you to try and stick to your lane, even when others don't want to stay in theirs. And remember, you ain't going to get much space, but still, try and stay alive. And just because somebody has overtaken you, it doesn't always mean the race is on. And what about pedestrians? Well, we can be a hazard to them and they can be a hazard to us. With over 20 million visitors each year, you'd be prudent to remember, not all of those pedestrians are going to be looking out for you and your little Brompton. In fact, some just seem oblivious to their surroundings. So, it's sometimes wise to ride as if you're in a computer game, and pedestrians are there to catch you out. They will often walk out in front of you, or use the cycle routes as an overtaken lane for their footpath or pavement. So try and dodge them. Although I appreciate it isn't always possible. And finally, try not to get your Brompton pinched. It may be grabbed whilst it's folded up somewhere, so keep an eye on it, or lock it up. You may also be followed. So again, be mindful of your surroundings, unless of course you want to travel light on your return journey back home.
Do you know what? I think he was going to jack your bike then.
Yeah, I was wondering.
Yeah, I was thinking I'm going to have to push him off in a minute. Yeah, he's coming up. That ladder.
Anyway, that's all from me today. It's just time to pack our bags and cycle back to Euston Station. Thanks for watching, and if you're keen on watching similar rubbish from me, please consider subscribing, giving me a thumbs up, and maybe sharing. If you have any questions, I will try and get back to you with a sensible answer. Also, if you have a favourite cycle route, let me know. I may try it out myself. Stay safe and stay tuned for our return journey to New York very soon, and some other bump in relation to my switch bike versing an electric Brompton. Catch you soon.